What's going on, everybody? It's about a few minutes towards midnight here, Central Time. I'm out and about, doing my own business, my own thing here, walking about, getting a little bit of walking exercise, before heading to bed. Tomorrow's Christmas Day, or actually it's going to be Christmas Day in a few minutes. Now, one of the videos that I posted earlier today of me feeding that homeless guy. Let me start off with this one person saying that, I know that guy, he lives across the street from me. You gotta show proof, bro. Don't just come in some comment section of my videos and start making these claims unless you have proof, okay, pal? Show me, don't tell me. Now, on to what I wanted to talk about. The glam metal years of the 1980s. Actually, the metal scene back then I should probably talk about, because there was two types of metal. It was the glam metal, the ones who did wear eyeliner, a little bit of lipstick, dresses all flashy and stuff, And the serious metal, like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. Bands like Exciter, a power trio from Canada. A band out of Montreal called Boybot. Early Metallica. Early Megadeth, That was the kind of stuff that really stands out today because, compared to the rock and roll that we got nowadays. Now people ask, well, why you don't like some of the rock and roll that's out there? Because a lot of the rock that's out there today is just there because to attract your attention, basically. When you think about it, a lot of the bands back in the 80s and 70s put a lot of time, energy, and effort into their music. And we all agree that the songs that they sang had some pretty interesting stories behind them. Whether it's the story behind Hotel California, or the story behind Rhyme the Ancient Mariner, or any a band that sings about, or basically something like Dave Mustaine of Megadeth often did at times. He would write the lyrics that would often leave you run into the dictionary. He did that on purpose, so basically you can learn these words and basically learn. He thinks it's uncool to be dumb. That's one of the reasons why I respect bands like Megadeth and Metallica, because they told stories. They told the other side of the coin. Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction. Some of the subjects talk about paranoia, talk about what's going on in the streets, drug dealers, women who start out squeaky clean, innocent, but later become drug snorting whores, and you being concerned for them, their safety and welfare. That's basically the stuff that we were into, me and my friends, that is. Judas Priest, they had a lot of stories to tell. The story behind the song Sinner is pretty interesting. Devil's Child, talking about a lover that does you wrong, male or female, doesn't really matter. Or the song Electric Eye from Screaming for Vengeance, which deals with a super being watching over the people. Kind of like a dictatorship, basically. Imagine what it's like living under a dictatorship. It's basically what that song kind of reeks of when you think about it. Now, I remember a lot of bands, and particularly a couple places around the Detroit area. The Ritz in Roseville, New York, and Warren, and Harpo's in downtown Detroit. All, of course, in Michigan as well. Oh, there was another place called Blondie's on 7 Mile in Detroit as well. It's basically towards the west side, basically. That's been shut down. I know the owner, Roosevelt, brought back a new Blondie's, I guess in 2012, 2011, basically. That didn't last too long. That place shut down. It became a rap club, from what I understand. I remember seeing a lot of the glam metal bands that played there. One of them was the Bullet Boys when they first came out. The place was fucking packed. I was up in front row. I remember the Reunited Suite, or semi-Reunited Suite, that played there in 1990. A couple original members along with two new ones. I remember bands like Johnny Diesel and the Ejections. They played this set there one time at the Ritz. Also, Jody Bon Jovi's sister. She did a performance there one time and basically didn't go over too well. She came out dressed like and acted like her older brother, and people just were not, they were turned off by it. She was very upset, and later on the guitar player had to introduce the songs. So basically, that didn't go over too well. There was this glam metal band out of New York called Princess Pang, whose singer Jen Foster, my bad. I was going to say Jodie Foster, the actress, but her name was Jen Foster. She was fucking pretty hot. They did this show at the Ritz one time, opening for some act, and she threw a fit because she did not like the nets that were around separating the over 18 from the under 18, basically. No, let me take that back. The over 21 and the under 21. The romper room, that area was called. I don't know why they did that, but Jen Foster did not like that at all. I didn't like it either. I was like, come on, just make it 18 and over, and watch out for the underage drinkers. Or better yet, just make it 21 and over, period. A lot of people were debating about that. I remember a lot of local bands, which I don't know if they're still playing today. There was one group called Sassy Cat that I was friends with. I was friends mostly with a couple of the guitar players, mostly their singer Craig. They were into bands like they were friends with a band called The Whiners, who I liked and appreciated. I was friends with a couple of their guitar players. One of them, his name is Kevin, I believe it was. And later on from there, I became friends with, of course, Craig, the singer from Sassy Cat. I saw a couple of their shows. They later became Mother Mercy and switched towards the alternative side, somewhat like in the same vein as Pearl Jam and Soundgarden. I didn't really care for that because I didn't care for it because I'm not an alternative type of guy. Around the time I was really drifted towards the industrial goth side with Skinny Puppy, Ministry, Frontline Assembly, Front 242, which at the time when I was going to the Ritz, I was getting heavily into. You just couldn't talk about it back then because people would be like, what the fuck, you're in a different area. Because those two areas were separated. Back then, the two sides were like sworn enemies, basically. Most of the local bands I used to see were like, as I mentioned, Sassy Cat, Seduce, who back in the day used to have hair out to here and these Flying V guitars. I have their first album downloaded on my phone here. That first record, by the way, I urge you to get because it's pure metal at its best. Pure Detroit metal, I should say. Another one they put out called Too Much Ain't Enough in '88. That should be a classic. Underground classic, to say. It should have received a lot more recognition. I encourage everyone to find it, download it. If it's on iTunes or anything, definitely check it out. Or go to YouTube, whichever. By the way, they were also featured in these Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, the Metal Years, and it was a spot on them. There are bands like Sweet Teas, Heaven's Wish, I believe are still functioning. I remember seeing them, I guess it was in 2010 at the River Fest in the St. Clair, Michigan. I was going to say another area, my bad. Boom. Bands like, let's see, there was this one, oh, by the way, we had some horrible ones as well. There was this one group called Tough Luck that my friend at the time, Lori, described as very tacky. There was this band called Rated X, which sucked massively. Sorry, but they just couldn't cut the cheese. They did a lot of songs the dim-witted way, the poorish way, basically. They got a couple of songs, basically the guitar player got a few chords wrong on Rock and Roll All Night, the Kiss cover. I had to point that out to him, which chord is which, you know. I remember a lot of those bands. I remember groups coming into town like the Electric Love Hogs, a group that was discovered by Motley Crue's Tommy Lee. There was this one band I remember called 1313, which was sponsored by Cheap Trick. They were supposed to do a show at the Ritz at one time. Never showed, never played. Apparently something happened with the bass player or something like that. They say that was turned out to be a bunch of bullshit. Oh, there was this one awesome guitar player named Greg Howell, who at the end of his set did this 30-minute guitar solo right up to 2 a.m. Damn, we were all saying. Now that is fucking devotion right there, dude. Give this man an award. Sadly, I stopped going to the Ritz and all those places when the alternative scene came into place. I discovered a couple of new places to check out. Plus, it really wasn't the same. Most of the bands were breaking up. All this new alternative stuff was coming in. You know, the sensitive, you know, bands talking about real issues, you know, wearing potato sack pants and dirty ass shirts. You know, I'm sorry, you know, I was never an alternative guy. If I'm going to go see a band or see a show, I'm not going to show up looking like total crud. I'm going to show up looking nice. Whether it's one of those ascot ties or my trench coat, which, by the way, I'll show you my new one I got for Christmas, by the way. It's called like a Victorian trench coat, basically. Along with some leather pants I got to show everybody as well. That's about it. The only thing I'm going to say on this note is, you know, I think people my age, and I know some that would agree with this, the rock and roll that we had back in the day was 20 times a lot better than the stuff that we got out now. I don't want to knock some of the hard bands that are out there today, but some of the energy and the effort you put into your music needs to be extended a lot more. You know, especially some of the emo bands out there. Y'all talk about how feeling emotional, be what you want to be. That's fine and dandy. But also, it's okay to put some messages in music about the perils of drug addiction or alcoholism. You know, talk about vivisection and what's going on in politics. You know, and by the way, if you're going to condemn one side, you're going to have to condemn the other. Go after both, because as far as I'm concerned, both are guilty. You know, talk about stories from the past, like the legend of this area in England, or this legend of what happened in Lake Superior. Try to talk about stories like that, dudes. You know, Let the fans, and also let the fans figure out what they're singing about. Basically, when you do these kind of songs, let them learn. I'm about to end this video now. I'll just say this, all the bands that I miss, that I mentioned, I miss you guys. I'm friends with some of them on Facebook now, including the singer bass player from Seduce, Mark, as well as Craig from Sassy Cat, the bass player from the Trash Brats, Tony. I got to give you guys a shout out. Keep Detroit spirit alive and well. I'm Dr. Earl. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. And one more thing I need to point out. People may say, oh, those bands, they look like girls. They look like chicks. That was the style back then. That was the main thing back then. It wasn't like today where you have piercings in your eyebrows, your earlobes, and your septums, nipples, and that. Back then, that stuff was unthinkable. Most of the bands had their shirts open, showing their chest hairs or buffed up bodies. That was the thing back then. The boots, the leather jeans and stuff, That was the style. I think some of that style should come back today. Not necessarily all of it, but some of it. Okay, so once again, subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, leave some comments below. You guys have a good one, okay? Bye-bye.